please rise for the pledge and remain standing for the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this evening. We just thank you for the people that are here and for the hearts they have. And you know the hearts. We think we know other people's hearts and minds. We cast judgments all the time, sinfully, but we don't. And you know their hearts, and we thank you for them. We thank you for their willingness to serve, for the willingness to be here. We thank you for each and every individual in this community, regardless of their race, regardless of their gender, regardless of where they worship or if they don't worship, or regardless of what they do for a living. It doesn't matter. We're very thankful for them. We're very, very thankful for every job that's in this community, for every place that we have to live, for every business that's here. We're thankful for the things that you bless us with and for the things that you have in store for us. We're blessed beyond measure. We pray for your guidance and your wisdom tonight to help us make decisions that will continue to lead us in the direction, not that we think is best in our own self-interest, but that you know is best. We give you all the glory, praise, and honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, Jan, if you would.
Brandon Elmore.
Present.
Bob Leahy. Here. Nathan Conklin.
I am here.
Tim Heiss.
Here.
Tito Frias.
Here.
All right, now regarding the consent agenda, I believe we do have an additional claim that Jan has put before you. So in addition to any questions or comments you may have, I just want to make sure that any amendment would be to include the additional claim as presented. If there are no questions or comments, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I have one quick question, Chad.
Yeah.
And Anderson and the $16,000,
Yes.
did he agree? Did he come to any kind of?
We've not heard one single, I've responded back and not heard anything back. So, in fact, I extended an invite to the meeting, the council meeting, so.
I knew you sent out the email, but I didn't know if something had changed since.
Nothing's changed.
Also, wasn't the water tower supposed to be on that too? That's supposed to be painted and?
That was one of the original concepts, yes.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be either painted or wrapped, like like you see some of the
Coming up
areas.
here tonight, it seemed, it looks horrible
Yeah,
up there,
yeah.
the way it is now.
Oh, I agree.
Besides the corner, supposedly shop or office or whatever was supposed to be on the corner inside.
Yeah. So again, it's one of those projects that the scope has changed somewhat, so that's, I think you guys responded appropriately in terms of the way you framed it up, so.
I will move that we accept the consent agenda as presented with the addition of the funding for the wastewater treatment plant.
We have a first, we have a second.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The consent agenda approved as presented. We have no presenters. In terms of mayor's report, I'm proud to hold this up. You guys will be happy to see this. It's the biggest check I've held in more than one way. And that's for the community crossings, which Union City was awarded, and so we're going to see further. There was some confusion I do need to clarify regarding sidewalks. It's for the downtown corridor, the rest of Oak Street to Howard. So, the walks were started down there by the backstay, well, actually all the way down to.
That's not correct.
That's not part of it? It was supposed to be part of it, according to Monty.
That's phase 2.
That's phase 2 of
This
community
is
crossings.
phase 1.
Okay.
So this is ADA sidewalks from Oak to Division, ADA corners.
Oh, okay,
Not
just
the
the
whole
corners.
sidewalk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Corners, and it's the 2 driving lanes of North Howard Street from Oak to Division. They're not milling out the whole entire road because there's not enough money. So it's just the 2 driving lanes for a 2-block span.
For phase 1.
And then phase 2 is Oak Street down to Plum, or Howard to Plum,
With the
milling
sidewalks.
the street
Uh-huh.
and the sidewalks.
Okay. And that's phase 2.
That's phase 2, the way I understand
Gotcha.
it, Monty.
Okay, okay.
So is there another check coming, or is this?
There will be another check coming in late summer, early fall.
For that, okay.
Wow.
So that will happen, just not immediately. And so the accessibility corners will be done down, what's the street again? Just to clarify.
It's on North Howard Street.
On North
from
Howard.
Oak to Division.
Okay, Oak to Division. So just heads up, when you start seeing work done, that's stemming from this. As phase 1, and phase 2 will be the sidewalks down Oak, and then
And if
More
I've
street work.
misunderstood Monty in any way, I'll eat my hat. But he and I talked all the way to Muncie, and we talked all the way home. And he's anticipating getting phase 2 funded and receiving that money later on in the summer, and getting both of those projects completed.
perfect. Yeah, because I know we cut the trees down, well, all the way down to the base on Oak in anticipation of having the sidewalk done, so.
That's sidewalks and paving.
It's not sidewalks and paving. It's anytime you do a community crossings, you have to update the ADA corners.
Okay, it's just.
So where we can include sidewalks, we do that, but for sure it's the ADA corners. And I believe, the way I understood Monty, the first round is just the driving lanes of North Howard Street from Oak to Division.
Clear as mud? Okay.
Howard Street's the same. Howard Street is just when you do phase 2. Does
Phase
that
2 would
include
be
sidewalks?
Oak Street from where Backstay Lofts Alley
Howard.
used to be
Right.
to Plum.
Okay.
And that's all sidewalks and
That's-
street.
That is sidewalks.
Correct.
Street, okay.
Wait, what's the dollar amount tied to that?
I don't know yet what that dollar amount is. That one is 298,000.
Well, you know what we'll do?
My whole point is that right there is already more money than we told John Anderson we were going to spend.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And that's,
it is the block that we said we would do.
Right, yeah, and that's true. That's very accurate. It's extremely accurate.
So if we wanna get attorney speak, we can play.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we need to post the exact where each location is. We need to post that on and what to expect when they do see trucks in motion.
Is that already awarded to Milestone? Or do we know who's awarded to?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Good question.
no, that'll be a bid process.
Yeah.
Bid price, okay.
Yep. Plum Street infrastructure. Obviously, you've seen the the pipes down there along Plum Street, the housing district. The Governor Isaac P. Gray. So that was the first of many good signs to come. And then there's something quick I wanted to share. Watson's has reached out to me end of last week. They're starting a tree planting initiative, which I love the way sometimes things just align perfectly, because you know what the Lions Club is working on. And they're starting a tree planting initiative in recognition of Arbor Day this Friday. And so we're meeting with them Wednesday, and they're going to plant a tree for us, but then also have, I think it was 300 saplings that they're going to be made available between their Union City, Muncie, and is it Fishers locations. So about, I don't know if they're doing 100, but there's going to be multiple saplings available for here for the community to be planted. And so I just think that's pretty cool. So it aligns well with what we're hoping to accomplish. Jan, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. Council members.
Area Planning Commission that last Wednesday night, there was a plot of land on Old North 27 that was approved for rezoning from M2 to R1 for some houses to be built in there.
Okay.
I've got a picture if anybody would like to see it, and basically some time owners conversation that really doesn't pertain to us anymore. So, and that's all I have.
All right. Thank you. Nate?
Couple things. One, tomorrow night is Child Advocacy Group, so the next meeting I should have some type of update. Also, I don't know how, Jan, you want to handle this. Next meeting, should we elect a new council president, or should we do that today? I believe next council meeting will be my last.
Um,
Probably have to wait till
One after. after that?
Probably when a new person comes in,
Okay.
Well,
so they, oh, yes.
yeah.
This your last
When
council?
the next council meeting.
Next one's your
Yeah.
last one.
We, basically, we're closing on the house in the near future, and the people want in, so we'll be
Well, I don't know.
California, my wife's in Texas, then we move. So,
We're not violating anything as long as he's technically still in council.
Yep.
But I mean, at the same time, there's nothing that restricts us from naming a new council president at any given point in time. So it's really at the,
Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter.
yeah, it's six one, half dozen the other.
Next meeting or whatever.
Right.
sorry, I should've got with you on Friday like normal, my bad.
Well,
Alright.
we can, you wanna plan that for next meeting then? We'll just do that.
The other thing I was curious about on Plum Street, I know there was conversations with the county about putting money towards, has that gotten worked out?
That has not gotten worked out yet. They want to do a loan, and so I'm wanting to set up the terms of that loan where we would not have any repayment, and for the first 2 years, to allow us to get make sure we've got our feet underneath us with the housing, and the possibility exists that I would make a pitch for a clawback for every home built for their consideration, and to see what I want to do is make these proposals before presenting to you guys. I want to see what they come back with, because I want to see if they come back to agree for the clawback, then I'm going to present. I don't want to present something to them without knowing that they're going to be good with it, if that makes sense, before pitching to you guys and make sure. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay.
Ultimately,
You guys are gonna have to agree to anything ultimately, as are they. So right now, we're trying to find out what that looks like.
what was the terms tied to Winchester's build out?
I don't know that there were. I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know that there were any terms specific.
That's just a
Yeah, they could.
valid
Yeah,
comparable-
exactly.
comparable price. Ultimately, I'm sad that I don't get to see the Plum Street edition go full cycle, because we've been working on it for 3 years, basically since before we were elected.
Oh,
So I wanted to see that go full cycle. I'm sad that I'm not gonna see it, but I will be paying close attention to it.
Oh, you'll see it.
Yeah, no one's here from this side of the table. So, I just wanted to, I was hoping things were moving along smoothly there. And then the other thing that I had is on new business, so.
Technically, your name will go on.
Oh, there's a plaque?
I don't know. Maybe a plaque.
Yeah.
I would definitely.
There's one at
like
the
to
wastewater plant for
be
that project.
Invited for
Speaking
the
of that, when's
name
the
of
open
the
house?
Oh,
When's
yeah,
the
that's-
open house for the wastewater plant?
It is, I can tell you that.
May-
Do we got a date?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Oh, I don't have my.
It's the last council meeting in May. The council meeting will be held at the wastewater plant. We will have a brief business meeting, and then it'll turn into the open house and reception for the wastewater treatment facility.
Nice.
So it'll be May 23rd. You should be on the lookout for formal invitations probably starting this weekend. I'll get out in the mail.
That's all.
Don't really have much, anything other than, people might wanna notice as they drive by that the soffit is done on the rail tower,
Yep.
and, contractor, did the job, did a nice job, and it is done specifications.
Isn't that
It
present?
wasn't
That's awesome.
new, vinyl or
Right.
aluminum or anything.
Uh-huh.
It's
The what? I didn't
the
understand.
soffit, the underside of the overhang of the roof.
Oh.
Yeah, it sticks out about what, 3 or 4 feet.
5 feet.
5
It's
feet?
about-
Holy
Part of it's
smokes.
5 feet.
Woo. Man,
It's about 5 feet.
that's a lot.
With the
Yeah.
time period, that's cool.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And that's
Yeah.
going to make the state so happy.
I said, I'm sure you've looked at it.
Yes, I have. It's
I think
beautiful.
they did a really nice job.
They did an excellent job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was ecstatic with it, to be honest with you, because I walked over there. In fact, it was before they were completely done. I walked over there early Friday morning, and it was still dark out, but I had my camera out. It was, yeah. Tito?
So yeah, I wanted to do a shout out to the Union City High School Band, who brought back gold from the Indiana State Music Association's High School Organizational Festival. That was this past Friday in Pendleton, Indiana.
Nice.
I was there for a modest-sized band. Union City had a big sound, clean, crisp, and refined. The kids worked very hard, and it was a magnificent performance, and we're very proud of them. And we're also thankful to the skilled work of our band director, Mr. Fred Elliott. Congratulations. I also wanted to say that I was in band in high school, and I don't remember having such a nice sound. Like they are excellent. They got
That's
gold.
awesome.
So.
That's awesome.
Okay, that was one thing. The next one is, could we just have an update on the implementation of the Blight Grant, where we're taking down a few buildings?
Yes. The second bid process is in process, literally, isn't it?
The bids are due back the 28th, this Thursday.
Of this month,
Hopefully
this
we
week.
get something that is considered a acceptable bid. The first round of the bid.
Painful.
So I know from the pre-con meeting last Tuesday that there was 9 packets requested and sent out, and we're hoping for several bidders on the rebid process, but I will tell you there was only one contractor that showed up for the pre-con meeting, so things are not looking overly positive at the moment, so we'll have to wait till Thursday.
Keep our fingers crossed, because that's a huge, I mean, it's $500,000 in grant money. And it's for the L, just to reiterate for anybody that's watching that may not be familiar, the L-shaped building over here on the corner, the old police and city building. And then it's the building on Oak Street that was the back half of Joe's Corner Force when it stood there on the corner. And then the former A&P building. And anybody is saying, oh, why are they knocking all these buildings down? Trust me, we don't want to knock them down, but we have to knock them down. They're beyond the point of saving, and they represent a threat, both health-wise and safety-wise, to the general public. And so that's where we are. But having backfill plans is important. So we can't get to Plan B until we get Plan A executed. Yeah, because we've got a restaurant ready to go up on the corner.
Steve, did you happen to reach out to that group that does scrap in Winchester?
Yes, we have been in contact with them. They did request a packet, but they didn't show up to the pre-con meeting.
Okay. And I believe that was outside of the normal guy that does residential scope.
Correct.
I know he'd do it, but
No, he's got timing issues. I just asked him to
oh, you
take
did?
another building down, and he's not interested because it's
Farm.
too close up to farming season.
Thank you. And good shout out on the band too.
I probably wouldn't be speaking out of turn to say that the goal is that those are the last buildings that we tear down in the downtown area.
That is very much appropriate.
Yeah. These 4. Yes,
Yes.
Amen. Yeah.
We're
Oh
done.
gosh, yes.
We get
Yes.
these are
Yes. Yeah. That. Yes. Oh
this is
mercy.
for the people that wonder why we keep tearing buildings down. Well,
Yeah, that's absolutely. Well, and that's why we're working so feverishly to get the other ones restored and filled. It's the same for downtown Facade. So
My mouth shut till we get to that spot.
okay. The next one, Jan, if you want to provide some insight on this, I shellacked this 8 ways from Sunday, last meeting. Ordinance 22-06, the codification ordinance, the second reading. I did do some checking. We do, on the amount we needed to, or the fund we needed to list on the Facade Grant, we actually technically do not have to list the fund, which is nice in the sense it gives us flexibility there if we want to pull from different funds. So we do have wiggle room there. I ran that past Ryan. The other questions that we had, we did get clarification on the, I'm trying to think the other things that were brought up.
The titles on the one page were incorrect on the website.
Yes.
And those got corrected.
Those have been corrected, correct? Okay, good.
Correct. Those are
Correct, okay.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned too that this always trails behind, is that correct?
Yes, the codification process takes, I send in, about once a year, all the ordinances that we have passed up to the time I'm doing that. And I sent those in probably back last September, I don't remember. So it only took the ordinance from then to last September. And what they do is they just take those ordinances and put them into our code where they belong. So that's what you're okaying, is that everything that we pass is been converted correctly or put correctly where it belongs. We are reviewing their work that they did, putting them in there. They do also put in anything that was passed by the state that needs to go into our code. So we can't change anything on this. Tim was right, there cannot be any changes done to anything that we've already passed without passing another ordinance, and then it would be part of the next codification process.
Okay.
So right now, I forget what the last ordinance was that we passed, but it was probably maybe even last summer. I'd have to look. So anyway, they're just up through then, and then I'll be going through this process again this year. So yeah, they're always about a year behind. What's on the website is always about a year behind. Now, Tito, if your book is not up to date, because I didn't look at that to see whoever turned it in, who had it last. So we can, but you can also go on the website because that is what the master is. So that's all I have.
No, I
So I
appreciate
need
that.
a
So,
okay on the second reading. And also Ryan reviewed the change. I reviewed them, Ryan reviewed them, the changes to make sure that they were correct. That
Good.
went from the into the code.
okay, thank you. So based on that, any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve ordinance 2022-06, codification ordinance on the second reading by title only.
First, we have a second.
I'll second that.
Brandon,
Brandon,
so if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Lay,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
Yes.
Tim Heiss,
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
All right, now new business, Park Avenue pavement.
That was added by me. Essentially, it's because we're trying to get more and more housing happening. I know there is an individual building on, what's the street behind yours?
Carolyn.
Individual building on Caroline, and somebody else bought a couple more lots, so that happened. They bought them all. And I know at some point we should probably, as a community, look at redoing that intersection behind the Ball Diamonds. It's kind of a small drive that does a circle.
Okay.
Once that's fully drivable by people,
Yep.
it's not walkable, and eventually when there's more and more traffic driving, it'll make it challenging. But that has infrastructure ready for people to build on. The part that does not have infrastructure ready for people to, or a developer to build on, is Park Avenue, which is behind actually it's not too far. And long term, I would suggest that we would extend Park Avenue all the way down to to
Boggs, which is.
Bogs.
I was gonna say just to the woods.
Past the woods. or
Past the
just
woods, the end of the
past
woods, and then if things continue to go progressively forward, we could turn left and then connect Caroline to Boggs to make that a thoroughfare, instead of driving all the way down to Division, out Division. That would be another way to get around the school area. But in the more immediate time frame, I believe that Park Avenue from the Wilderness Center corner where Steve lives to the woods basically would open up access to 3 lots. If we could vote, I believe that was supposed to have been paved back in the 70s. but it was never followed through. There's already curb and gutter
Yeah.
and manhole covers, everything's already there. I think that's something we should put in motion, so if the talks happen and those potentially are going to get built on, they're in city limits, I believe. We wanna double check that, because I know there's issues on that street with some being in city limits and some not. They're all supposed to be, but I know there's a couple one-off houses right there that are not in city limits. They're not in the,
They're not annexed.
annexed, they're not annexed. So we wanna make sure that those 4 lots are annexed, and then also make sure that some type of drive, roadway is put in, so that later we can potentially expand. The immediate fact is just to get those 4 lots potentially built on. I don't know if that's something that we have drawings or quotes already done.
I believe that Monty has somewhere, had a quote prepared, but I can't tell you where it would
That's
be
all right.
at or what it was when he did. But I think it's pretty recent. It's within the last 2 years, I think.
Okay.
Well, we'd have to have another one anyway. We'd
Yeah,
have to have
at least
asphalt prices.
We'd have to have,
Yeah.
we got, at least if he's got it, we got the specs.
Yeah, yeah, true.
And I think that's one of those things, my understanding is Plum Street is going to start moving dirt in the next 2 to 3 weeks, if weather permits. But the builder also wants to potentially build some houses there before it gets to the Plum Street. So my understanding is you have to at least have gravel-based road to get trucks in, and right now it's grass. So I think that's something that I won't be able to see through the finish, but I think I could at least put it in motion.
Can
If
we have
everybody
that?
has a consensus, that would be helpful.
Well, yeah, you're welcome to reach a consensus on that. I was gonna say either way, I was gonna have it submitted for the next council meeting, what is on file. And then if you guys wanna go and reach a consensus now in terms of, granting Steve authority to pursue bids to present to you guys. Upon, if you want to,
Yeah. I move that we proceed forward to grant Steve Shoemaker, the city manager, approval to start getting bids on Park Avenue paving for improving the roadway.
that would be presented to you guys. We'll wait first.
I'll second.
Improving what roadway?
The unpaved or unimproved.
It would be
portion
from
of
Grace
From
Avenue
Grace.
to,
I just want more specifics.
it would be,
Park Avenue
Park-
from Grace to the field to the west.
yeah, it'd
Or
be
Approximately
Falls extension.
120
To where the curb ends,
Well, that's
Yeah,
what
there
my,
is a curb that goes all the way.
Yeah,
Is
to the
Grace
end of the
like
curb.
the crossroads
Yeah, it's
before
the-
that dead end, before you get to the dead end? Okay.
Yes, yes.
to the end,
And
to the curb end,
I can't remember how far.
because the curb's in, just not the
I think it
street.
goes all the way down to,
Okay.
what's her name's house? Jeffrey's house.
It
I think it
goes-
goes all the way to
all
the
the way
end
to the
house.
It does, it goes all the way to where Boggs would join it.
Okay.
So it's basically equal to what Lynn Street is.
I mean,
I
that's,
couldn't remember, it's been a while since I've been down there.
I know there's lots of paving going on, we could potentially get them, multiple companies to quote it, whether we do it when they're doing the community crossings, or somebody that when they're doing the Plum Street. They're here.
Eliminate
Let's
a
get- let's-
mobilization fee.
Yes, mobilization
Yeah.
can be costly with
So-
diesel prices.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. You mentioned that there needed to be gravel laid so that trucks can get it. Were you talking about the Plum Street development area, or were you talking about Lynn Street?
The
Park Street,
park, which
Park,
is south,
sorry.
yeah.
park to the west.
Yeah, it's all
It has
grass.
curbs and gutters already there,
Yes, yes, I
but
would.
they would need to put the
There's
base
no base
and
in it.
redo the base.
Oh, I see.
Imagine there's probably some gravel once you dig down, but there's dirt on top of it, so.
It's pretty soft.
Is it? I haven't heard it back.
Ask me how I know.
Basically, to access 2 of those 4
Chad and I have
lots,
things in common.
you
Yeah,
you can't get
All
there
too
unless
often
that
for
drive,
me.
that the street is put in.
Right.
So basically, they're inaccessible.
Gotcha.
So if we're looking for consensus, just for him to pursue bids to present to you guys, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? All right. Consensus to present that, we'll work feverishly to get something for you guys. Probably, we'll have the plans for sure that Monty's had previously. I can't reckon we'll have any.
I'm pretty sure he had Wagner price it and
Okay.
maybe Milestone, I'm not sure.
Maybe with any luck, they could have something.
It was done like
the year before you took office, I
Okay.
think, so.
Okay.
That's not
It's
bad.
just a matter of
It's
requoting.
still-
Yeah, they might be able to have something for next meeting then, for sure.
It's still closer to something than it's-
Resolution 22-R-04, which is the community Christmas resolution. This was per, I think Tito had mentioned in the previous meeting to see if we could have something drawn up. So if you guys had a chance to review that. Any thoughts, questions, comments? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I move
that we adopt resolution 20-22-R-04 community Christmas resolution.
We have a first, so we have a second.
I'll second.
Jan, if you would roll call vote.
Brendan Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
And I appreciate Board of Works member Bob Gentry for your assistance with that process, Bob. Resolution 22-R-05, which is the authorization for execution of NDOT agreements. This is pertaining to what I showed you at the beginning. This is granting basically authority for me to be signing all documentation required by NDOT that would pass through, basically pass through city management first and then on to me to sign. So this is what's required by NDOT. Basically, they need a point person for signatures. So the $298,000 could be spent for the.
I have a question.
Yes.
I know they requested, okay, you're saying it, they requested permission so that a point person, which would be you,
Correct.
could sign. But when I read it, it talks about all members of the executive body. What are they talking about?
Well, I don't know if that's generic speak because the executive body is just one person in this case.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if that's legal speak.
Well, it says when all members of the executive body do not sign. So,
What line are you on there, Jan and Tito? Where are you guys at?
I'm in the middle. Whereas the Indiana Department of Transportation has requested specific written authority for the execution of NDOT agreements when all members of the executive body do not sign. Therefore, be it resolved that we're authorizing you to sign them.
Yeah, and this was provided by NDOT.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is not something that we drew up. This was something that they actually drew up and sent to us to have ratified.
Because, I mean, it seems like it doesn't really fit with our ordinances. Like, we don't have an executive body where multiple signatures.
Well,
Do we?
yes, technically you do, because you have the board of
Well,
Public
that's-
Works and Safety that's part of the executive, so.
There
Right,
you
but
go.
that's an administrative body according to our ordinances, not executive.
It's
But yeah, it's appointed by the executive, so it's a kind of a gray area. But again, that we might be splitting hairs in that portion. I mean, it's a great question. I'm not saying that, but we might be splitting hairs in terms of the intent of this document, which is the granting the authorization and hereby this day. So I mean, that's the intent of this document.
The way I read it is we're basically saying you can sign this, and we don't have to wait for a council meeting every single time.
Right.
We don't have-
Yeah, and NDOT's certainly not gonna let us do anything that's outside of what we presented to them, because they're the ones, I mean, this is their money. In essence, it's from the state.
It's basically authorizing you to sign for the scope of the project.
Right, right.
Whereas if you didn't do this, then you would technically have to have approval from the council for every time you had to sign documents.
Correct, correct.
And that'd be, because that's the way, you know, we can't give you blanket on, say, we're gonna resolve, you know, have a resolution that this year we authorize the mayor to
Sign everything.
sign everything.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
Yeah.
Not that we
Talking about.
Well, it could be anything presented by the engineering company that does their work, the pre-plans and the scope of work for the, what, I mean, Oak Street and, I mean, what's laid out for them, what was agreed upon for, what was submitted to NDOT for a community crossings grant, what was submitted in terms of our plans, that's the only thing we'll be discussing with regard to this,
you know,
with regard to the
plans
resolution.
are set.
Yeah, plans are set. I mean, we can't go outside of that. We can't deviate outside of what was presented
Is
for the
that
grant.
in here? Because it's, I mean, maybe I read about it, I didn't, I don't know if I caught that point. Was this apply forever or only applies?
No,
in
this
the
is just
context?
this. This is just this. This is supplied, this is not us. This is supplied by NDOT. This is their language. They're saying, okay, we're giving you this money. We just need somebody to be the point person to sign for what's presented in the plans.
I don't know if this helps or hurts the situation, but Indiana Code Chapter 31-1-3 states the power to condition or limit its civil liability except as expressly granted by statute. 2, the power to prescribe the law governing civil action between private persons. 3, the power to impose duties on another political subdivision except as expressly granted by statute. So this is expressly allowing us to grant him in regards to concerning authorization of NDOT agreements. I guess I'm confused at where the confusion is.
Yeah, we might be hitting an ant with a hammer, respectfully.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I just execution and it's a specific NDOT agreement we're talking about, right?
Yeah, it's
Community crossing.
for community crossings.
crossings.
Yeah.
Because the way it's written, it's like a forever thing. Like,
Oh no.
My guess is they just got a form document that is issued to us every time we're awarded a community crossing grant so that the paperwork can be signed and facilitated in a timely fashion. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
And we've probably signed this with whoever's been on council every year since 2017, which is the origination of community crossings.
Which also it's a resolution, so it's only good for a year.
Right. So I should, yes, exactly. It's not an ordinance.
No.
That's probably the biggest call out. It's a resolution,
It's
not
a
an ordinance.
resolution, so it's only
Yeah.
good for.
That's the biggest call out. Because I'm sure we did this last year, because we had community crossings money last year. We would have had to have. So, but yeah,
so
that's
pressure's off.
That's good. Yeah. That's a good call out though, the resolution. So if there are no other questions, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve resolution 2022-R-005, resolution of the City Council of Union City, Indiana concerning authorization for execution of NDOT agreements by title only.
We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second.
Bob by air. Jan, if you would, roll call. Vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
Yes.
Tim Heiss,
Yes.
Tita Frias.
Yes.
All right, and then the next one is a little bit unique. It's going to take a little bit of feedback. The letter I proposed to Embark, I will not hide my dissatisfaction with the job that they did in reinstalling the lines and the posts there in Artisan Crossing. It looks shoddy at best. And that's our downtown park, for crying out loud. And I honestly, well, I'm not going to say what I was going to say because that would have been meaning to him. I was going to say something about my kids. So, having never ran that machinery, I think they could have done a better job. So what I'm proposing is what you see in the letter, but in terms of the details of how we structure that, here's where my mind is at. And I'm like the gentleman over here in blue that's on our Board of Works that since the beginning of time, it seems like has wanted those lines buried. And I share his his sentiment, because it would look better.
Are we missing a page?
No, I don't have the proposal, you only have this letter.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to, yeah.
Because I went through my email and I'm looking over
I'm
the based
I'm so
on
sorry.
the following.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, I want us to construct the proposal, that I will be the second part of this letter. If you're good with what the letter says,
You wanna know what you want us to decide what
Yes.
our demand is.
what do we think as a collective body?
I wouldn't sell for anything unless the cable was buried.
Okay. That's
I know that's been the long-term goal of a lot of
I
people.
don't know how
so-
we
Yeah.
go from wanting the cable buried to them putting an additional
And they
pole
could have
in.
taken
Yeah.
it down when it was down,
And, yeah,
put the corrective
it
coating
was
around
laying on
it,
the ground.
put dirt on top of it, and walk away.
Easy peasy, right?
But I may be
Well-
oversimplifying things.
Slightly, but
There was a-
you're right.
Yeah.
So was there any discussion about the cost of what this was going to entail when they dropped the line? Because, I mean, it sounded like from your letter, it was a nominal amount, and that ended up being $13,000, which was half of what the cost would have been to bury it.
Right.
You know, knowing that, we would have probably just went ahead and buried it at the time. So,
Yeah.
like we were talking about there. So.
I agree. It was an agonizing process from the get-go in terms of communication and their inconsistent feedback with us. And Monty went rounds and rounds trying to get it buried at the time, and it took a while for us to get a figure from them, and it was $26,000. And we were in no position to pay $26,000 to have it buried at that time.
I think.
So they weren't upfront with us about the cost of dropping the line.
They were hands down, Brandon, the worst utility that we could have possibly have imagined to work with for moving the rail tower.
Gotcha.
I mean, we were literally the day of the move not knowing if they were going to have their work done.
Yeah. It was tedious.
Okay.
And add to that, the utility that provides the least amount of service to anybody in
Yes.
the community.
Yeah. The electric company was outstanding.
Yeah.
They were phenomenal.
Yeah, they were.
They were phenomenal.
That may have something to do with their performance too. It's
Well,
like-
yeah.
Anything to do, but
I think in your response, you could definitely include Webster's definition of nominal. Very small, below the real value or cost. Some firms charge only a nominal fee for the service. 13 grand, if that's nominal, I'd hate to see what the real charge is.
That thought crossed my mind.
Like,
So if we're in agreement that bearing should be part of it, what do you feel is an acceptable figure?
$13,000.
that, I would go for that, would be half of their original amount.
Or
And
we'll get a quote to do it from somebody experienced.
We tried that, didn't we? And we were not allowed to, correct?
I'm worried that what I'm going to say is going to be not received well by council, but we even had a volunteer willing to dig the trench to lay the cable in for them to come in and bury it. So we were literally, we had the work volunteered to dig the trench.
But free.
So, and couldn't get them to agree to that. And then the whole crazy thing about that process is that they put it on the ground and had no way to protect the cable as the several ton building rolled across it. We had to do all of that work.
15 ton, yeah.
Yeah, we had to do all of that work for them because they had no way, when they put the cable on the ground, they had no way to protect the cable.
Well, and that I was gonna, my suggestion was that in Chad's eloquent words, because Chad's a very good writer, I feel, that some of that could be explained, is that, and one of the first thing that stands out to me is that I remember that they'd stated that this was the line was very heavy and it couldn't be done with
Regular trucks,
yeah, and so
and it was.
but what they showed up with
Yeah.
was actually a subcontractor.
Yep.
That had equipment really not just slightly bigger than our city.
Yep.
Truck.
Exactly.
And
Which was kind of a slap in the face.
so that, all of that was just bull.
Yeah.
And I wasn't impressed with the professionalism of the subcontractor at all.
Yeah.
And then what they left us with was just,
And then the other thing that's frustrating is I think it was 7 months before we were even notified of a bill or a charge.
Yeah,
I mean, it was unbelievably long.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So, and I'm going to send, when I mention exhibits, those pictures will be of the lines. I thought I already had them in my iPad and I couldn't find them the other day, and it was dark when I was here, so I was like, well, I can't take pictures now. So I'm going to get good, clear pictures of them. I mean, it's obvious, you know, to the naked eye, it's not right.
I'm mad
Doesn't
about
look as
taking
it should.
pictures. Now I'm mad that I didn't take pictures of the contractors as they were doing that work, because
That's
one
a
thing
good
that
point.
really stuck in my craw was the fact that they made it out like we're gonna have to have extremely heavy
Yep.
equipment in, you know, to lift this. Standard bucket trucks aren't gonna work. They came in with an F550 bucket
Yep.
truck.
That's a
Which
great
is-
point.
Is a low medium
Mhm.
capacity bucket.
They actually
Yeah.
dropped the cable on the ground. They didn't even lay it
Yeah,
down.
they
They
didn't
just
lay it.
dropped it.
Just
They
dropped
cut
it.
it and it just fell to the ground.
Yeah. So it was a frustrating process because we worked our tails off in that whole process to get everything else done and lined up for that. I mean, I kid you not, I probably had minimum of 80 to 100 emails between all the different entities I had to deal with the state and patronicity and all the utility, you name it. It was arduous, to say the least. And they were, you put it well, Tim, they were, or Steve mentioned it, they were by far it wasn't even a close second. Everybody else was great, and they were just on the other end of the spectrum, it's like they just didn't want to
Well,
work with us.
and add to that, that really long before the rail tower project ever came along, it was attempted to.
Yeah, that's true, yeah,
had been
yes, sir, you're right.
attempted to do this.
Correct.
This goes
Yeah.
back years.
Yeah, so the extra hole in the ground was almost like a stab in the back.
Ever since
I wasn't
we built-
counting.
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ever since about the time the stage went up,
Yeah.
was about the time we were talking about.
Potentially go to instead of sending it to the corporate. They're huge, 18,000 employees.
Yeah, well, trust me, that presented a whole new layer of frustration because it was tough to get the same person. I started keeping a file of my communication with them because I was always talking to someone different. I was trying just to help my own sanity in terms of keeping things, straight.
And your first indication that they're gonna do this kind of thing to you is when they don't give you a contact person.
Correct.
You know,
Just string you along.
Years ago, when we leased property from the railroad, my dad had one contact person that he worked with exclusively,
Mhm.
basically on that, and it made everything go fairly well.
Yeah, it'd be wonderful.
And when they run you around like that, you kind of feel it's intentional.
Yeah, hoping they'll give
Or
up.
you're never gonna talk to the same person twice, so you go through this thing and they just wear you down.
Oh, they do. It was agonizing.
So just so we all understand, 47390 is actually not even an option under their business model to have service.
Wow.
They have that big of cables running through our park, and we can't even get availability of CenturyLink service in our town. So I'm curious, what do they do?
It's a 900 pair cable, and it's actually what basically provides 911 service for our citizens. That's what that is.
Okay, that's important.
And a 900 pair cable is exactly what it sounds like. It's 900 little tiny wires that are fused together, and it creates the network that provides us 911 service for Union City. Because I've asked that same question, and I finally got the answer.
And they dropped it on the ground.
And they just dropped it on the ground.
Fiber optic or
Do they still use that building up there at
Phone
all?
cable.
Do they use that building at all?
They've just re-roofed it.
And this is water under the bridge, but that system comes out of the building, runs down the alleyway, comes down the alleyway,
It's
that basically comes out right behind the stage. It comes down that alleyway underground into a spectrum vault at the base of the pole that's now crooked. Then it runs out of the spectrum vault, up the pole, over to the rail tower, across Smith Street. Then it goes back underground under the railroad track and comes back out by the lumber yard, and then it runs on the south side of town. That's the path of that cable. And again, I'm absolutely just furious that I even know that. But
we have a proposal on the, from the board, at least from one member to bury for 13,000 is what you said?
I still think that's ridiculous, but yeah, whatever, if we're gonna pay 13
It's
grand, let's at least get it
half
buried.
of what their original bid was, or cost.
Brandon, Tim, Tito, what are your thoughts?
I agree with that.
Okay.
I mean, they're gonna come back with another price,
Yeah.
but.
Right, yeah,
Doesn't
but
mean
let's
they're
get
gonna
the
Play
ball
that game,
rolling.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't wanna give away the store.
Maybe we should lowball it.
I think that's kind of what we're doing. I mean,
Well, I mean,
It's
there's,
kind of what
Well,
it's kind of like what we're doing.
we
We're kinda
can-
lowballing it.
We could, I mean,
technically, we already owe
it should have been a
$13,000
job,
for
it should have been a job that could have been done for less than $10,000.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how about, we have felt at the time when we were quoted the larger amount, what, 26,000?
26, yeah.
That this was a job that, we had information, this should have been a job done for around $10,000. Hence, we could not agree with the $26,000. We would be willing to pay the $13,000 to have, if it were buried. But at this point in time, it's not acceptable.
Okay.
Yeah, but we could put that in there because we'll probably get stuck with the 13 grand.
And you might even want to mention that this is a public park, that we have regular events, and we don't want this line to be a liability or a hazard either to the people or to the line.
Yep.
Especially considering the important service it provides in
Yeah.
911 service, so. If that pole decides to crack while there's, state line heritage
Storm
days,
or something.
and there's 50 people under that line as it comes crashing down,
Mhm.
it's a heavy line. It
Yeah,
is
it is.
heavy,
Good point.
so I don't think they want to assume that liability.
All right, well, so 13,000 for the berry. All right, that's what we'll do.
That's not in addition to the services already rendered for the 13.
Right.
No, it's for
And
13
that's
period. Come in,
13,000
bury it, and you'll get
to clear it
$13,000,
up.
what
Yeah.
you originally asked for, but to have the job done right. Because, well, and here's the other side of the argument, they're gonna have to come back and do something anyway to make it right.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna mobilize a team to come back and try to correct a pole, rehang a line, drop it. Just
Well,
drop it and bury it.
If I would say if we had to go to court for this, that any reasonable court looking at the pictures of the poles, especially the one on the end, could be swayed by a good attorney that that pole is not safe, is substandard, and it needs to be
Right.
redone.
Yeah,
And that should not have been left that way.
no, not at all.
I don't think that'd be a hard argument to make.
And my apologies, I put Embark on there, it's actually CenturyLink, which actually now is Lumen, so.
Whatever, whoever.
Yeah, it
company
keeps
is
changing, but. All right, ordinance 22-07, which is the ordinance establishing a park board. This is in the first reading. This, unfortunately, I don't know if you want to add anything, but this, unfortunately, the more things change, the more they stay the same kind of notion. Well, unfortunately, when we had DNR at the town last year, they talked about all the funding opportunities for us, but unfortunately, we're not eligible for them because we don't have a park board. And so, I don't have that document. Jan, I'm missing.
It's right here.
Okay. Oh, that's, never mind.
I've got an extra one.
Thank you. Okay, and I trust you guys have had a chance to review this. This is not one that is set to, as we talked about this, we have noticed no budget impact.
It's going to not set the world on fire. It's a volunteer position. We have to have it to be eligible for Department of Natural Resources funding. That this is a housekeeping type of a process in my estimation. We just have to create this so that we can become eligible for funding.
So again, no budget impact whatsoever.
Was that in our packet? Was the
She had it printed, it's on
A hard copy on your desk.
Yeah, I didn't
Right.
have it either, Tito, sorry.
the, it was printed. so
Oh, I
you
see.
can all look up, yeah.
There was an additional one now.
Yeah, there was an additional email too, yeah.
Jan, you sure did put it here. It was underneath that stack you put me. You did give it to me. I missed it. That was my fault. Thank you.
I don't need it, I wrote it.
Would you like to drop the mic? So pretty standard though in terms of its verbiage. Do you have any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt ordinance 2022-07, an ordinance creating a board of Parks and Recreation.
That, on the first reading, do we have a second?
Second.
Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brendan Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
Yes.
Tim Heiss,
Yes.
Tito Frias.
yes?
We're not in any kind of hurry on that, are we?
No, we're not. If we suspend the rules, I can get started on updating the 5-year plan, which is a requirement for, but I can't do that until we.
I move that
Do
we
we have a
suspend the
motion?
rules.
I'll second.
The motion to suspend the rules. Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brendan Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
Yes.
Tim Heiss,
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
All right, well, then I would hereby entertain a motion on the second reading by title only.
I move that we adopt ordinance 20.
I do have a question. I'm sorry, I have a question.
No, go ahead.
So are these gonna be different people than the Board of Public Works, or is it just gonna be
Yes. it's
now we're
totally-
Board of Public Works now?
They're totally separate.
It has to be different.
I believe it has to
I
be,
think it has to be different.
because the Board of Public Works, originally we had a park board that was dissolved because it wasn't doing a whole lot and it all rolled under Board of Works. But, and every statute in regards to the state, we're good, Steve, except for what DNR's definition is.
Correct.
So, and if I heard you correctly, this is gonna be a volunteer only, no budget outlays, and the members are gonna be appointed by the executive, which is the mayor, and there are 4 members on 4 rotating terms.
Correct.
So it would be, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know. Because it's a volunteer, so it may be one of those deals where, I mean, I'm not excluded from having somebody on board who works on there, but at the same time, I would love to have differing or broader perspective.
Yeah, sure.
It's gonna be coming down to, what we're able to do, because it's volunteer, so. I know from community Christmas, history that volunteerism's not always in a huge abundant supply. So, but we definitely,
For the
first,
park though, I think
for-
for the park though, you'll get people.
hopefully, yeah, because as long as they've got a passion for the park, absolutely. I'm sorry, was somebody getting ready to mention?
I'm sorry.
No, you're.
Yeah, I move that we adopt ordinance 2022-07, an ordinance creating a board of Parks and Recreation on second reading.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Jan, if you would roll call vote one more time.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
Yes.
Tim Heiss,
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
Okay, and Steve, I'm gonna turn this one over to 230 West Pearl Street Facade Grant application.
Alrighty, so 230 West Pearl Street, Old Time Antiques. This building is under new ownership, Brian Roberts and Christina Elliott. I don't know if you've peeked in the windows, but they've got a pretty impressive storefront started. Basically the Vision Corner project, parts of its structure was connected to this building in the rear of the building. So in the Vision Corner process, we had to repair where this building was partially demoed and rebuilt and all that. We had to fix the issue with the Vision Corner structure. In that process, they looked at the back of their building and said, hey, would you guys be willing to do this to the other corner and fix all of this? So I talked to them about the Facade Grant, and basically what we have done is we've cut off the bad corner where the building was partially demoed. You can see like right here in this picture. They basically came down, they cut a straight line all the way down the back corner of the building. They relayed new blocks. Joe Davis's guys. We did it kind of quick. So the explanation for that is the scaffolding, the material, the block, the mortar mixer, everything was already there. So it was literally put together in roughly 72 hours. So that's why there wasn't a lot of conversation about this. It did structurally greatly improve the building. They are planning on painting the unfinished side of the building this summer, so that's going to also greatly improve the optics of the building. The total cost of repairing that rear column was $8,000, and they would be requesting a 50 match of $4,000. And again, the work is already done, so I am pleading with you to help these people out and make their building better.
With our ordinance, I thought they had to be done and paid for before they asked for it. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, they've already wrote the check, it's done.
So what are they looking to paint? They're looking to paint this side right here,
Correct. Their plans, their plans is to paint that side. They're also, if you look at the front of the building, it's actually two colors.
Yeah.
But we structured a conversation with Gary, I forget who owned the building originally. Chad and him talked, when we paint and redo paint it black furniture, we're gonna paint the front of that building so it cleans up that whole Pearl Street. Gary sold the building to his ex-wife and her new fiance, and then they are going to paint that east end of the building to clean all that up and make it look better. It's not gonna look like it's all stuccoed and polished and pretty, but it's gonna make it look 1,000 times better than the raw exposed brick for sure.
In the sale of that, did the gravel lot next to it go with it, or is that owned by somebody else?
That's owned by Delia.
Well, there's
And the Pizza Hut.
And the original Pizza Hut building, I think it's Chesterfield Properties or something like that, still owns the little strip where the Pizza Hut building was, up against this 230 West Pearl. But Delia owns the lot where the Grand Theater was demoed.
Is there conversations for that to get turned over to city use?
We have not formally had that conversation, but that will be on our to-do list. Have a conversation with her about us taking ownership of that property to probably look at more downtown city parking.
Just, I know there's a lot going on in those buildings.
Vision Corner is going to require additional parking, and that would be our primary focus. We just haven't physically had the conversation.
Did they say anything about cleaning up that brick before they paint it instead of not?
It would all be power washed. I'm sure some of that plaster and stuff would come off, but
Just the paint over that would look like.
that's not part of this project, but
Right, I'm just saying, did they?
I
mention-
am working with her and with some of our local painting contractors to get them a pretty good deal on getting the work done.
But what was it? Is it once per year you can apply for a facade grant?
That's what I was getting ready to ask.
Yeah. So next year they.
Is it once
Right.
or twice within a 3-year?
It's twice if you own multiple properties for each property, but it's twice per location over a 3-year period of time.
so it could be in the same year.
Could be.
they'd just be done for the next two.
Right, yeah.
So, things to know, it's a new business, it's open, their doors are ready to open for
Okay.
business.
What's the business do?
It's a antique and craft store. She put the name of it on there, on the application, I think. Old time antiques. The building's really neat on the inside. Gary's did a lot of work before he sold it to the inside. So, again, it's making the building structurally better. That's the primary focus of this program. And I just would urge you to accept it and help them keep making improvements to the building.
Yeah, it desperately needed that stabilization at the back. It was-
Jan, can you advise how much money we've spent on facades projects this year?
3,900, and that was the Oak Street.
There was only that one, okay.
Yeah,
remember
this
there was
year,
another
that's all there was, is.
And when originally we discussed this, we were saying it was up to 40 grand a year.
Is what we had budgeted.
Total, it was 10 per project, or 10, as a max of 10 per project.
Nice to do it. There's no
It's
question.
almost May and we've got a second one. I move that we approve facade grant program for 230 West Pearl Street facade grant application. Sorry, that was redundant.
Very good. We have a first?
I'll
I
second.
say we do that and then tell them to come back when they're ready to paint the building.
Jan, if you would, roll call
Can
vote.
I ask who seconded
I
that?
did.
Bob.
Bob. Okay, Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Nathan Conklin.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
Resolution 22-R-06, which is the resolution approving lease. And this is for the bond process. If you recall, for the housing development, if you recall, for the bond, we had to create the redevelopment authority. We already have a redevelopment commission. We had to develop a redevelopment authority for the, actually it was for the bond and not the TIF. I know, but I know, it's all right, it's been a harrowing experience. And so, from Mr.
And what's being leased?
It's actually the infrastructure itself, the streets and what's underground, not the land that the homes sit on. And it's from, this is the strange part of it, it's from one city
Entity to the
and
next.
to another city entity, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not going outside of our span of control. If I seem a little bit crazed over this, it's because I really struggled to understand why this is set up the way it is,
That's
but,
not necessary.
My
yeah.
left pocket has change, my right pocket needs change.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. How much change do you still have?
And I'm not allowed to pay the bill out of that left pocket.
Right.
It's gotta come out of the right.
It's gotta, yes, that's that's exactly what it boils down to.
But it's because we had to create the redevelopment authority in order to qualify to get a bond
Correct.
to develop the what's the name of the
Governor Isaac P. Gray.
Isaac, yeah.
Correct. And this is this has nothing to do with the TIF process. This is just for the bond. Well, I should say it has nothing to do with TIF. Has to do with the bond, which will be paid back by the TIF. That's their connection.
Right.
That's their relationship. But this is strictly for the bond. And in fact, I even went back to Tom, and Steve will verify this. I don't know if Jan was copied on the email as well. I asked Tom Pittman, the attorney, municipal attorney in Indianapolis, I said, we already have a redevelopment commission. I said, we don't have to do this, correct? We already have a redevelopment entity. He said, no, that's a redevelopment commission. You need a redevelopment authority.
The way I understand it, the commission can't technically take out the bond.
Right.
The authority
The authority
has to
has to.
take out the bond.
Right.
The money from the TIF goes to the commission, so the commission has to move the money from the TIF to the authority so the authority can pay the bond. That's what happens.
Hence your right and left pocket.
That's as simple as it can be put.
And people wonder
You can
what,
only go in the left pocket, you can only come out the right.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, yeah.
Doesn't even make sense.
So it's all it did is it created another level of paperwork trail that we had to do. But again, I'm going to sound like a broken record for as long as I'm in this seat, and that is, there's things you have to do because you know it's the right thing to do. And this is the case because of the housing. What's discerning to me is our county population has decreased for years now. Our county population, if you look at the trend line for Randolph County, Gary, am I correct in saying this? Population's doing this. That should be scary to anybody that lives in this county.
And not just recently.
No.
Like 100 years.
No, and that should be disconcerting to anybody. And it's not rocket science, folks. If we don't have places for people to live, we're not going to increase our population. And and I'll be honest with you, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. But from higher levels beyond me, they've talked about we need to be spending our money on our bridges and making up lost revenue from last year or from the pandemic. I'm sorry. Community crossings funds are available, but they have to be applied for to handle, and they're to be applied for by counties. And if we do not stem the tide of our population, you're going to create an unbearable burden on a population someday to handle taking care of infrastructure. It won't. You do the math. It won't work someday unless we stem the tide with our decreasing population. So we have to have housing. We have to. Yes?
I had a thought sometime quite a while back, and thought about back in, say, the early 1970s, late 1960s, when at one point there were more people that worked in Union City
Yes.
than lived here.
John Ford, you say that all the time.
If we had a concerted effort by community leaders and industry leaders as part of this.
Right.
And I'm not throwing anybody under the bus because this is not it wasn't the mindset, it wasn't the thinking. We think to have had an initiative to try to move as many of those employed people here as possible. Now, some would say, well, now you'd have had a higher unemployment rate when all the factories left. But if we had, or we might not have lost it. But if we had 200, 500 more houses here, because that's not an unreasonable number compared to what the employment numbers were. But if you had 200 more houses here feeding into the tax base, everybody's. What would that affect the revenues of the city to do the work we need to do, and potentially a lower tax amount for everybody, including and also what it would do for your property values because of more vital community. And that's what we're trying to build.
Exactly.
That's,
Business owners.
that splash pad would have been more viable had those 500 houses.
Exactly. So.
Well, again, I don't mean to get off on
Here we are
it. It's
50
just, this
years
is how
later.
critical this is, it's, I still harken back to the conversation I had with Paul Faddis early one morning over a year ago, and Paul said, someone's gotta step up and get this done,
Right.
Jim,
Don't apologize, you're absolutely right.
Well, I don't want to overstep my boundaries in my role, and I also don't want to I don't want anybody to think I'm casting accusations or anything of that nature. I just know we have the power, we have the ability and the power to do something now about this. So that's why it's on us to make this happen. If we can do something about it, we should be compelled to. Honestly.
Does creating this authority cost us any money additionally, other than Tom Pittman's group drafting the paperwork?
Nope. And that was already approved through when you guys approved
that
them.
was already part of the whole TIF district and that whole legal
I
conversation.
see this as a necessary evil and propose that we approve resolution 2022-R-06, resolution approving lease.
And this is a resolution too, keep in mind, so. First, we have
I had a question.
Yes, yeah, shoot.
So again, I think I asked this question about the park board. Will this also be different people, and will they be paid? That was your question.
No, they will not be paid.
Okay.
So, different people, I think.
Hold on, this is not to establish a board, that's already. been
Yeah, this
decided.
is, yeah.
Right. We're establishing
This is
authority.
the
This is just approving the lease.
Yeah.
Oh, it's approving.
Yeah, the authority and.
Did we already establish authority?
The
Is the
authority was
mayor
established by the
and the clerk
redevelopment.
treasurer, basically, the mayor can say, yes, we're moving forward to this agreement, and when the TIF funds have to be transferred, Jan or the next clerk treasurer will move them from the left pocket to the right pocket and
Gotcha.
write the check to the bond agency.
The authority was effectively created by the redevelopment commission at the last redevelopment meeting. Is
Oh.
that correct?
Correct.
Good to know.
Sorry. Good question.
I'll second.
Bob seconded Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin.
Yes.
Tim Heights.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
Wastewater plant project, is that Division 2?
Yes, change order.
Change order number 1. Jan, did you want to proceed?
It's basically just the next in the line of change orders that have to be approved. It's all the funds are coming out of contingency money. Jan has a little bit more information, but we believe the majority of the change orders is price overruns on needed equipment and parts and pieces of the work to be done. So Rob he's been on vacation for the last week, so he was a little bit out of the loop on this paperwork process. So it doesn't change the fact that we have to approve this change order to keep work finishing up at the wastewater plant.
Yeah, the change order, if you look at the second box on the change order page, that $156,702.15 is what we have left to spend. And then it has the extra work proposed, which is the 55 manhole frames and lid replacement for $82,500, and then Miller pipeline proposal, which that's attached. It explains that, and that's another $35,000. So we still have $38,000 left.
That is a spent, use it or lose it type scenario.
Correct.
And just so you're aware, Rob believes there's more than $38,000 left because he doesn't believe that the state has moved items that have not been spent by category down to the bottom line yet.
Okay.
So there could be another fairly sizable change order yet to come.
Like 6 figures?
No.
But
Like,
there's,
I would say somewhere between 80 and 100 maybe,
So,
depending on how accurate Rob is versus what the spreadsheet shows.
there's, like, for instance, he said there's some money left from the, vac truck purchase.
okay.
And then you mentioned a couple other things. I didn't take notes of what he.
Yeah, he rattled off
He
about
rattled them
50
off.
grand of things that he
Yeah.
knows they have not spent out of
Yeah.
the initial budget, and he knows that money hasn't been dropped down yet.
Yeah, they're not.
So I would say the 38 plus maybe another
Okay, let me
45
clarify.
or 50.
So the city's not gonna have to cover that difference. We're
No.
saying that there's a,
There's a larger amount left than what's even showing here too.
that's what I thought. I just
Yeah.
wanted to double check that.
You know, there's,
Any other questions?
and he's doing his best to try to spend it.
Well, yeah, I
Which,
should. I
like
mean,
say, reiterate, that's money that's out of the grant.
yeah,
Will
because I
be
mean,
returned.
if not, it just goes, yeah.
And for items that we would have to cover later.
Yep.
Or later.
You might as well ease future budgets as much as possible now.
And
It's grant
also
money.
report to the council that they received their new push camera with the accessories they had. And the first day they had it and the old push camera out working at the same time. to
Nice.
both locations.
Good.
Nice. Excellent.
And which is what they really had suspected would happen, and they were ecstatic to be able to do that.
That's wonderful.
2 locations covered at once.
Well, if there are no other questions or comments, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move we accept wastewater plant project division 2 change order number 1 by title only.
First with a second.
I'll second.
Second by Bob. Jan, one last time, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore.
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Nathan Conklin.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Friedis.
Yes.
We have some visitors in the audience. Anybody
Can
wishing?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
There is one more thing that we didn't mention. The Board of Works this morning approved doing a rate study, water
Oh,
rate
yeah, I
study.
forgot that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you
We didn't
forgot.
put that on the agenda.
But you were supposed to
I
remember.
was.
All right, well, I'll turn it back over to you.
So the Board of Works, voted to forward to the council to, begin a rate study for increasing the water rates. The last time that was done was 2016. We are behind. Every year when we get our updates from Baker Tilly, they tell us that we're behind on the rate increase, and the Board of Works basically is recommending and has approved that we proceed with the rate study to get that information.
Is this water,
Water,
wastewater?
Just water.
Just water.
Also, I want to add to that the state has repealed the URT tax. So but we have to pass that back to the consumer. So
Can you tell us what the URT tax is?
utility receipts tax.
Thank you.
So we pay that, and it costs us. It's the city's cost of about $11,000.
Was
Per
it
year.
1.4%, did you say?
Yes, 1.4%. So we have to. So I would have to do a public hearing and pass an ordinance to establish new rates that show that change. Well, I propose that we do it all at the same time. That's why I would like to do this water rate study, so that we could get this in and get it done at the same time, so I don't have to do 2 public hearings and 2 ordinances and change the rates twice in 1 year. So that's why we're bringing it up now.
Okay.
Because the tax is assessed to Union City, not to the individual ratepayer, so that we have to include it in our rates, and then we also have to show that we've taken it out of our rate.
Gotcha.
Can't just absorb it without, or can't just translate into a rate increase without voting on it. So
Right, that makes sense.
everything goes back to the Constitution.
Yeah. Imagine that.
Including your resolution on the authority. It's in there.
Oh,
Is this something that's going across every community in the state of
Yes.
Indiana?
Yes.
I know
Well,
that-
yeah, everybody's.
It's always helpful
Right.
for people to hear, I
Yeah.
myself included, is we're not singling Union City residents out here. This
No, this
is
is-
coming from the state down.
From top to bottom, side to
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
And they're going to get that refund or that money back from every utility company. So it'll be electric, it'll be gas, it'll be water.
Correct.
Correct.
Wishing to address the council.
Go ahead. I was just gonna.
Okay, but doesn't council, are they okay with the rate study? Because that's a separate
Oh.
issue.
Oh, you want a consensus for the?
Yeah, I need a.
We were told
Okay.
it was gonna cost about $8,000.
Oh, okay, so we don't even have a,
Uh,
it'd be nice for them to have something.
We don't have that yet because we haven't started the process or asked how much it's going to be.
we don't
Okay.
have a bid on it.
So you're looking
I think
for,
You said you had been told it was gonna be around $8,000.
$8,000 to do the rate
To
study.
do the rate study.
so we just need a motion to pursue.
The rate study, and then we'll
Yeah.
know how much we should increase our rates. But we
Okay.
won't know that until we do the rate study.
Okay,
That we're legally bound to do.
Yes.
okay.
We're legally bound to do the rate study.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Instead of just upping the rates, you gotta do the
So-
rate
Yeah, that's
study.
good.
Where would we pull the 8,000 from? So if we can pull it from water?
Water.
It'd be-
Yeah, so we pull from the water fund. So we would need a motion to pursue a rate study, which is
Oh.
kind of
I'll
required.
move we pursue a rate study as described.
We have a first, we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Jan, if you would, roll call vote. Sorry, I said last time was the last
Yeah.
time.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
All right. Now,
Yeah.
Floor's all yours. You would stand and
I'd like to pass this around. Of course, I come from the great town of Winchester, Indiana. Jim Nunez.
yes, yes. Awesome.
And I'd like to congratulate Union City on all their successes. I see on Facebook and everything else, you kind of see in the newspaper and on the radio station, on all their successes in basketball and baseball, and I know that K.I.S.S TV's got it on the air too, and it just, that's what happens in Union City, and that's when they go around and in the band contest and everything else, and it just congratulations on everything from Winchester to Union City. And track and field also, they're doing a lot of fantastic stuff. I'm here, I'm presenting it's the wall that heals. I'm on another project too, like I don't wear enough hats. The Wall That Heals is coming to Winchester this year on May the 18th through the 22nd. It'll be on the north side of the Winchester Community High School. And we just I like to go around and just invite everybody to come and see the Wall That Heals, a Vietnam wall. It's one of those small ones, and it'll be here at this time, and just for everybody come and see it. It'll be there 24/7. You can come and see it at your leisure. Awesome. And we have a lot of soldiers in Randolph County. We'll have 10 soldiers that's on the wall. I don't know how many there is. I know that I'm also the president of the cemetery at Fountain Park Cemetery. We have 5 of them in our cemetery. Now the other 5 are scattered. I think there's one in Union City. I'm not too sure, but I think there's one. And then the other ones are scattered. But this is a great time to kind of, if you can't go to Washington D.C., this is a great time to visit it. I was in the wall, and I was involved with that one, bringing it here. But this is great. You know, you can see, I always like to see the children, because this is a good project for all the children. And I like to see them when they go take this piece of paper and they go for the last name and then just kind of trace it, and it's a good feeling. And also we have a big parade that I'm involved with also on May the 21st. It'll begin at the cemetery there in Fountain Park Cemetery at 1 o'clock. And it's got my name's spread all over Randolph County, but it's on the sheet too. Just honor. It's a welcome home for the veterans and it's very rewarding. And I know it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Usually I like to do the parades in the evening, but this time, because everything is happening on the 21st that day, and I welcome Union City to come and be in the parade. I know Steve tries to bring the trucks up there, as long as you don't bring all the big trucks, because you can't make the turns. But I'm just here to kind of welcome and congratulate Union City and everything that they do. And I can keep talking up here, but I know you guys got other things to do here, sign contracts and everything else.
Jim, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
Are there any veterans that are currently deployed coming home that particular weekend?
Not that I know of. I know there's some of the fellows from Winchester are at doing duties.
Okay.
But I don't know any, not that I know of. That's a different spectrum that I'm not gonna, I don't know.
That's all I'm sure.
What's your end destination on the parade?
We'll be coming from Fountain Park Cemetery to the high school. It's 1.3 miles. I know because I have to walk it. And, yeah, I don't have oxygen. But no, it's it's right on Main Street, from South Main Street to North Main Street, then 4th Street, and then it goes right to the high school.
Okay. Well,
And it's a tight turn. Usually the fire trucks, they try to get the smallest one so they can do the turn on 4th Street. And, but yeah, we try to do that because when we had this wall that heals, they picked out the date. We didn't. Well, that day we have in Winchester, we have 4 baseball games, 4 softball games. The alumni, the Winchester alumni, day of our park concert.
Oh, mercy.
So everything is probably gonna be tilting the world that day. So, but we still welcome, God's good to us, He'll provide for everything there. But the key thing is to come and visit the wall. Come and visit the wall. It's gonna be there 24/7. We'll have guards there and stuff. You need any help with anything, we'll have people there to help you to look for a loved one or whatever. Right there, and it's just an honor. It's just an honor, and that's why I do this all the time. Is because those soldiers lost their life, so we can have freedom right now, and it's just it's great. So a lot of people bring flowers and just set flowers there, not related to anybody at all. They just florists. They just come and bring flowers just to look good because those people lost their lives. So they just in tribute they'll put flowers, lay flowers along the wall there, and it's just great. Just it's just showing respect. Just showing respect.
That's awesome.
So we do it for a reason for that.
Thank
So,
you.
Any questions?
Thank you so much for that. Big time. And we will be a part. In fact, the preservation meeting I was a part of Saturday morning, they're going to have an entry in the parade as well. And I know chief and fire chief, police chief both have units going over, don't you, for the parade? So-
Well, there's actually
wall that heals.
2 parades.
Yeah, that's right. There is. There's the one that brings it into town.
Coming
isn't it?
in from the bypass in Muncie.
Yes.
And yes, we will have a public works truck, a fire truck, and a police car
Yeah, making the trip from Muncie over to
escorting it.
Winchester.
And then we will also participate in their Veterans Parade.
Yeah, I just heard just a little bit ago that anybody that does the escort, they will be given a pin for, I never knew that, but that's kind of like it. You will start assembling around 2 o'clock at this church in Muncie. But now they probably take a vacation day. There'll probably nobody be working at that time.
Right.
And those pins
Oh,
are hard to
they're
get.
beautiful. Yeah,
Oh,
they're
yes,
beautiful.
oh, yes. So all those bosses, I'm not saying nothing. It's like Super Bowl, you have to call in.
Yeah.
But that's all I have. It's wonderful to come and see another city council have tough decisions to make and councils to fit in, it's just, I do this all the time, go see other, making those hard decisions and always, because when you're running for re-elections and those people that's never been on, and they're campaigning and stuff, and this is what's all about. Come to the meetings and, when you're promising this and that, using that word promise, you kind of think twice, because you want to do it from here.
Yeah.
You want to live it here.
Yeah.
And that's where it takes, is living among everybody and just showing, it takes, it's the love. And it's, and I enjoy it. I've been doing this for 40 some years. Everybody just got, and that's why I'm on the cemetery board, because that's my future.
Oh, geez. Well, Jim, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you did for the county. Anybody else? All right. Date of the next council meeting is Monday, May 9th. Well, doesn't that sound nice? 6 p.m. Date of the next Board of Public Works is also May 9th at 1 p.m. Or do you hereby entertain a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Oh,
Second.
first and second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.